Time for what?
Experience in college.
Time for reinforcement.
Time for liftoff!
Where nothing is impossible unless you think it is impossible. It's
College.
My college scholarship.
Yes. Boom.
College ran by real fast.
You hung in with the best college.
First time for everything.
Well, what are you waiting for?
What are you waiting for?
Let's do this thing.
Genius, let's do this thing! Welcome to the show, everyone. We are here again. Don't worry. It's not just my voice. We have multiple guests today. Multiple guests to help you to get that student point of view of visiting colleges in person. No, we're not going to talk about virtual, in person. But enough about me. Let me have my guests introduce themselves.
My name is Joe, and I'm a junior at SI.
And my name's Eli. I'm also a junior at SI.
Oh, SI. Now, what does SI stand for?
St. Ignatius College Preparatory.
That's right. And at St. Ignatius, you both are in the program for MAJAS, which has been here for decades, which supports students who are either first gen or come from low income or also come from historically underrepresented groups. And every year there is this thing called a Southern California College Tour. Now, what did you have to do in order to get into this college tour?
So we had to fill out a portion of our Common App application, as well as do a small application on a Google form talking about why we want to go on the tour, what we think we'll get from it, and just what we think the best purpose would be for us.
Now, whether you are in MAJAS or not, how would it feel as a junior, Eli, like that you already finished most of your Common App? How did it feel?
It felt really good because I've heard a lot of my friends kind of talking about how they don't really know what they're going to do next for their college applications. Mm-hmm. And it just made me feel pretty relieved to know that I got a portion of it done already.
It was a win-win, right? About just doing the application. But we're here not talking about Common App. Has been in past episodes, maybe another one again. But we're here about talking about, oh my God, we have this board here. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 colleges. All right, so we did this in a couple of days. Too much? Too little?
I felt like it was just right. I mean, I was a little tired at the end of each day, but for the most part, I think I got out of the day the most I could.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I think going into it, when I saw the schedule, I was like, that's gonna be stressful, but it really wasn't. There was plenty of downtime, but it wasn't, at the same time, there wasn't just spaces where we were just waiting to go for the next college board. So I think it was very well scheduled.
So thank you very much. We try to give you, everybody should try to get some colleges, big, medium, small. Try not just have the stucco building tour. What I mean by that, just seeing outside, had some student panels. So let's start off where we started, at Loyola Marymount University down in Southern California. Now, this is known as a medium-sized school with 7,000 students, 142 acres. Yes, there is a beach. It is also a school that is not the easiest, but not the hardest school to get into, based on College Score, which is the website for the federal government, collegescore.ed.gov. It says there's a 46% accept rate on there, and the average salary is $71,000. But before we go into more detail about return on investment, what did you guys think of LMU?
My first impression, I thought it was a very beautiful campus. I've never been on an actual college tour before, so my first impression, I was just thought to myself, wow, this is a nice campus. I think everything was very well laid out. The student body seemed like a good size. There wasn't too little or too many students.
Yeah, I also, coming onto the campus, in San Francisco, we don't get much good weather, so being on LMU's campus, it was nice because there was actual sun. I thought that the buildings were really beautiful as well, so...
Yeah, and then we heard a lot from the students who graduated from your high school. They had a lot of personal attention, felt comfortable, they could ask for help. So if you're used to that classroom size of 20, 30 students, unbelievable. But do you remember them keep on emphasizing how hard their cinema production program was there? So they have, this is a school, though it's medium, you could do film production there. You could do engineering there. You could do business administration there. It literally has a lot. But what about the vibe of the campus? The class was in session. Did it seem super busy, super quiet? What are your thoughts?
Well, I definitely saw a few people kind of wandering, but for the most part, it seemed kind of quiet during the class time. We did get to run into, but he also was a business admin, and he said he was talking about a lot of different activities that the school had and how he was involved with a lot of them. And we kind of saw a little bit to the side that they had like a stand going on for, I think it was a blood drive.
So there's always some activities
There's always something
too.
going
There's
on,
always
yeah.
something going on the campus and in the heart of LA. So when you drove down, Joe, did you feel like it was in the city, or it's like felt like we're in the city, but it doesn't feel like we're in the city?
It didn't feel like we were like downtown LA, but it definitely had like that kind of city vibe where it was just like the layout of the streets, the shops, just people on the streets. It did give off like that city vibe, which me personally, that is something that I like when I'm looking for a college.
So though it's a Jesuit school, you don't have to be Catholic being there. They have a whole variety of students from various different backgrounds. If you're thinking about affordability, well, guess what? The average, they say, on college scorecard, if your family makes about $0 to like about $13,000, average cost is $28,000. That's because of merit aid and other financial aid. If your family makes about $110,000 or plus, it could be about $38,000. Of course, the cost of attendance is a lot higher. That means food and housing. So if your family makes more, but do know that there's definitely a lot of scholarships available. Now, we're still going to stay in Los Angeles, but we're going to go to a different part of LA. We're going to go to USC, University of Southern California. This is a private school that's large, people. We're talking about 20,000 students. We're talking about salary still pretty good, but it's $89,000 salary on 229 acres. What did you think of those Trojans?
First off, the campus, absolutely beautiful. It's huge. Me and Joe went on a little walk and we got kind of lost. There's just so much going on, I feel like. And even though they were on break, there seemed to be a lot of people still on the campus. So I would say that like you're going to always run into people at USC.
Yeah. What about you, Joe?
I thought it was very lively as well, and I actually just found out that they were on break about 10 minutes ago, but I still thought that it was a very lively campus. There was a lot of people even just like, they had an outdoor kind of like space to work out. I saw some people on that, so it was just people like taking advantage of what the campus has to offer in and outside of the classroom. And the weather too, I thought the weather was like a very nice change from San Francisco.
Those palm trees, right?
Yeah,
everywhere. Now, you both said LMU and USC are beautiful campuses. USC will be in the news a lot. There's a lot of children celebrities who go to USC. A lot of other amazing students as well from your school. What makes USC a good fit for one student and then maybe LMU better? Besides, you got to have that profile, because USC's 13% admissions rate versus 46%.
Well, I feel with USC, if you appreciate kind of being like off to the side in your classrooms, because there are 20,000 students, the classes are going to be a lot larger. Where at LMU, you kind of have that more focused view because it's only 7,000 students. So I would say that it depends on really what you as a student would like. So for me personally, I would prefer LMU over USC just because I need that kind of smaller classroom environment. But for anyone who thinks they can do well just all by themselves, USC, 20,000 students, you're going to get a lot of good opportunities there, but you're just a student.
Yeah, good point.
I'm the same way. I do like that kind of smaller campus, a smaller student body. But if you do enjoy being around a whole lot of people, then USC is definitely the better fit. In classroom size too, if you like those large lecture halls, then USC is probably the better fit. But me personally, I like the smaller classrooms, so that's why I kind of side more with LMU.
So those freshman classes at USC would be like 50 plus. And I think the thing that's nicely that you pointed, both campuses, a lot of opportunities. It's just more of that vibe, right? Because you saw, it didn't feel like, Joe, you're saying like they were on break. That was how busy it was. It gets packed there. Now, did USC seem a little bit more like a gated community than LMU? Like more security guards at all the exits or entrances, or did you not notice that?
I kind of get what you're saying, especially because of how much the campus kind of resembled like a small town. It had like actual just streets to get to like other buildings and stuff like that. So I could get what you're saying about like that kind of, it gives like a community vibe. Like it's almost like a small town. That's how big the campus is.
I know USC keeps on buying those properties outside and having those brick buildings everywhere, right? And it's also going to be right next to some great museums and the new George Lucas museum that he's building next door. So if you're thinking about USC, actually they have a lot more money. They do state that they meet full need. So if your family makes from 0 to 13,000, average cost is going to be about $12,000. Please make sure you apply by November 1st, early action, to be considered for those scholarships. So do know some private schools have earlier deadlines lines if you want that free money. So please go ahead and check that out. Now, we went from medium to large, and we're still staying in the private sector for now, and we're going small to Whittier, down Southern California, near Disneyland, people, of 74 acres, 1,321 student. Average salary is $60,000, right? Because there is no engineering major, no, film productions over here, but they do have business administration, a lot of other in the humanities, and it has an 82% admit rate compared to that USC 13%. So what did you guys think about Whittier?
I thought Whittier was a very small campus, especially from the first two that we went to. I mean, 74 acres didn't feel like a lot. We were kind of wandering around, and I feel like I got to see most of the campus just from our tour that we went on.
Yeah, I do think we got to see a lot more of Whittier, whereas like USC, there was a lot we did not see just because of like the size we had to travel. But at Whittier, I wouldn't say that it felt less lively, but it was definitely a lot more quiet. A lot less students there. Yeah, it was just a big change from USC.
Yeah, and do you feel like it had like more of that homey experience? Because like, right, you saw a fire pit out there, a lot more lawn chairs, more chill out places.
Yeah.
So definitely, all those three campuses, LMU, USC, Whittier, has communities. From your other classmates who went to see Whittier, who do you think is a good fit for people going to Whittier?
I think people going to Whittier would definitely want something very, very focused. I mean, with 1,300 students, it's not a lot, and you're gonna get that like very, very deep attention compared to even LMU, because 7,000 to 1,000 is a big change. I think for Whittier, someone who would want like more of a home vibe, because it felt kind of more like being in a house than being in an actual school. So I would say someone who likes an enclosed kind of life would prefer Whittier.
And then for Whittier too, one thing they went off talking about, besides the diversity of the campus, the diversity of the faculty, is a lot of merit aid. So it wasn't seem so impossible to get compared to the other previous schools like USC and LMU. So Whittier, listen to this. If your family makes $0, it's $14,000 K. That includes, remember, food, housing, books. $110,000. You're still paying $27,000. That's cheaper than a public university in California. So Whittier College, you want Southern California, you want affordability, check it out. But while we're in Southern California, we did go see some public schools. Speaking about the CSUs, we did see one of the 23, Cal Poly Pomona. So yes, there are 3 Cal Polys, polytechnical schools, where you get a lot of hands-on experience, a lot of exposure to different STEMs and other majors. Yes, you've heard of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Have you heard of the new one, Cal Poly Humboldt? But we really want to give them exposure to Cal Poly Pomona on 1,438 acres. I am not lying, that big, 26,000 students. And the average salary is $67,000. So this is a school that's a lot of engineering, business majors, also humanities. Yes, for those who want to do the English and more, with a 61% admit rate. Gentlemen, what are your thoughts?
I thought that it was definitely a big jump from Whittier. For better, for worse, that's for the student to decide. It depends person to person. But a whole 1,000 acres bigger, it was definitely like a lot to take in. It's a very beautiful campus, a lot of open space for students to, if they enjoy maybe just being out in the open, studying or hanging out with friends, that's definitely a benefit to the campus.
Another thing that I kind of took away from Cal Poly Pomona was that with the other schools, it kind of felt more like you were in a city, but with Cal Poly Pomona, it felt more like you were out in like a field or something. That really just gave off a totally different vibe. Once again, like Joe said, it depends on the environment that you feel comfortable in. But with Cal Poly, it really felt like a lot more open and like a pasture, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's in the suburbs, right? So if you're a person who get very easily distracted, like at a place like USC or LMU, where you're literally in the city, Pomona gives you that different architecture. I think is pretty cool and unique, right? That student center and the different food options too, right? And they also the Japanese garden, the rose garden. Did you guys see the sports car the teams designed?
I did. It was the dirt car, or it was like the off-roading car, right?
Yeah, like a derby racing car, right?
Yeah.
Something that Scooby-Doo rides, right?
I thought that was really interesting, seeing that.
I think that's important, what type of energy level the campus is. So it's interesting how there could be a large campus on large campus area still be very chill.
Yeah. I also kind of got like a very upbeat energy from our tour guide. Kind of sounded like he really appreciated all that the campus had to offer, as well as the different sectors, because I know that they talked about having a business, and they said with the business sector they had their own version of Shark Tank, which I thought was pretty interesting just to hear about. And then just like all that the engineering teams do, like with the derby racing cars.
I kept on hearing a lot of kids have multiple majors from public school. For a school like USC, it would be really hard, like just to get into the school. The Marshall School of Business is so hard to get into. It won't give you as much flexibility about Pomona. So a lot of your classmates never heard of Cal Poly Pomona. You haven't seen it. What was the energy thoughts when we all got back on the bus, besides being tired and hot?
A lot of people definitely really liked it, and it was something to take in because it's a big change from USC, where it's definitely a large campus, but the whole like vibe with how many people there are there, how lively it is, it's definitely like different. But mostly the opinions with my classmates was definitely positive. A lot of people really enjoyed the tour.
Kind of what Joe was saying was, even though there's similarly like around 20,000 students, I know Cal Poly has a little bit more, but because of the vast amount of space that they had, it didn't feel like you were in a really cramped area compared to with USC, because Cal Poly Pomona had 1,000+ acres. And so even though there's a bunch of students, you kind of see them in a more spread out view. And so I feel like that's something a lot of my classmates noticed, and they kind of appreciated that openness that there was.
You can see those aero drones sometimes, but seeing and feeling it, that's why we appreciate you so much here on this podcast. So if your family makes about 0 to 13,000, that cost of a Cal Poly CSU is $8,000. And then if you make 110,000 or more, it could be 20,000. But again, it's based on average cost. Those costs are based on in-state students. So if you are not from California, any type of public school that's out of your state is going to cost more, unless they have a special program called WUI, which will be on an upcoming podcast. But now let's go down to another school in the suburbs. We're talking about Orange County. It's actually in the city of Orange, Chapman. Chapman is 60% admit rate, 90 acres, average salary is $65,000. It's also a school that offers business, engineering. Do notice none of the schools we visited offer nursing yet. Oh my goodness. But guys, what did you think of Chapman?
I was very impressed by the campus, and it seemed like, based off what we heard from the student panel and the tour guide, they had a lot to offer. One thing I took away was something similar to what we have at SI, where we have a affinity group for Latin American students. They had something similar at Chapman that one of the students who actually graduated from SI was talking about. And so I thought that was like a nice touch to the campus, that they still have stuff for students to take part in outside of classes.
Yeah,
I agree. And then also another thing with Chapman was that even though it's a small area for the campus, I felt that there were a bunch of students kind of everywhere. When we were doing our tour, I had to move to one side of the streets multiple times because of the amount of people that were walking by in the opposite direction. And we had stopped at this resource center, which I thought was very interesting because it kind of gave support to its students. And I'm sure that the other schools that we visited have something similar, but we had only really heard it from Chapman. And I got a pretty good view of like how supported the student body is. Like, for example, our tour guide is completely paying for Chapman by herself, and she was able to do it because of the help of that building.
So that's amazing, right? So even though it's a medium-sized school, unlike some of the other two large schools we went to, lots of resources. And the key thing, big of resource, a lot of people forget, are people, right? Everyone thinks money or like, hey, are you on ESPN? But you forget in your everyday experience, who do you connect with? Because sometimes that, what did we learn from Ms. Visbel on the tour? Your network equals your net worth. Right, and we kind of forget about that. So here's a medium-sized school. Could still feel very busy. So on there, but wait, is it pretty? Is it homey? Is it not?
I really appreciated the campus. I thought it was very beautiful.
Yeah.
It didn't have quite the vastness of some of the other schools, but it definitely honed in on like that homey type of feel. All the buildings were pretty inviting, and I really appreciated some of the architecture that they had. Yeah, because they have that brand new engineering, and I love the fireplace with the comfy chairs. Oh yeah, those chairs were nice. They're kind of confusing though to me when I first got in there. I was trying to figure out what was going on, where I sit, but they're definitely very interesting.
Welcome to college. Welcome to college. Okay, now, but do you feel there's still strong school spirit, even though like it's not an ESPN type of school?
Yeah, for sure. The students definitely do take pride like in being students at Chapman, and so it wasn't just like something that was like put like sports aren't like put off to the side there.
And then I think the thing is like even we had some students who talked about like it's still kind of hard even at a medium-sized school to get to know other people, especially if you're shy. But there was options, right? Someone was going to a special event in the evening, and then we actually had another alumni who created a minor in Spanish with one of the professors as well too. So a lot of opportunity. So Chapman, if you want to check that out, family's income is at $0 to $13,000 per college scorecard. You're going to pay about $29,000 a year on average, 110 and plus. Average cost would be $45,000. So some colleges will be easier to get into than other, but it has an admit rate of 60%. All right, our only school that offers nursing with a 2% admission rate for nursing. Based on college scorecards, 11% admit rate. It actually went lower. Heads up. 32,000 students. It has 419 acres in the mountains right near Beverly Hills. Average salary, $80,000 a year, because yes, they have film, yes, they have music, yes, they have media arts, yes, they have engineering, yes, they got it all. It's a blue and gold school, one of the 9 UC system, the University of California, that public school, UCLA. Gentlemen, how was it? Because you were not just there on a tour, you were there on their huge open house preview day. Tell me about it.
So first going in there, I mean, they had the basketball court. That's where they started their tour. And I was kind of overwhelmed, like just being in there. I was like, there were just tons of people everywhere and very bright and very, very lively. But I felt a little bit overwhelmed, especially because there's 32,000 students. I definitely could see that there's a very large student body because I ran into people everywhere. Like I had to be careful where I walked because of the crowds. That might have been partially because of the tour, but a lot of them looked like students.
Oh yeah, they were. And this was on a Saturday.
Yeah,
let's keep this in mind.
So
it's a Saturday. Yeah.
But it just seemed like there was a lot to do at UCLA and a lot of open space. Yeah.
And Joe, what were some other things that you discovered on that pre? Because so like we went to a big arena, open house. Recommend everyone to do that if you're possible, and get there early, right? But then you were on a tour, so everyone went in different tours and stuff like that. And you went to the student union. So how was that experience for you?
I was really taken aback by how like lively the campus is. It's filled with people. And even the students there, they're really big on school spirit. And during like the info meeting, they had us doing cheers in the stands and stuff like that, and like getting us to compete with like other parts of the crowd of people who were there for the open house. So you could tell they definitely do care about school spirit and stuff like that. And I really appreciated like just how the campus was like laid out. There's a lot of places to just like, if you're not walking around, you don't have class at that exact moment, you can just like relax with your friends. Like after we got food, we were sitting by this like fountain in like a big like open space, and it was very like a relaxing kind of campus.
So did you guys know that UCLA is the most filmed campus on most movie films and stuff like that? I mean, it makes it easier because it's near LA, right? It is beautiful. It's similar to USC, a lot of, maybe not as dark brick, lighter brick, right? A lot of brick settings. And then it was interesting, you were talking about school spirit, so we even had faculty members who were so impressed by you guys who stopped to talk to you guys about his experience being at UCLA because he was first gen. So what are your thoughts about that? Because you saw students enthusiastic, administrators, and then just someone just so impressed, and they didn't have to talk, but they wanted to do an impromptu presentation. What was your thoughts about that, about campus?
Well, kind of some of the takeaways from what he had said to us was that it's a very difficult school to get into.
Yeah.
He said that the average GPA is 4.6, I believe, which like to me, I was kind of like just stunned by that. Just because hearing that, I'm like, oh well, I think my grades are good, but like hearing that is, kind of a scary thing to go up against. But I think aside from that portion, he was really upbeat about UCLA and just really hyped about how much the school has to offer, as well as the spirit that the school brings through its students.
And then what do you think is something that makes UCLA a good fit for somebody else? Because you talked about you may be in a classroom of an auditorium. That may be your freshman year. Yes, you're going to have those great games if you get into those football games. So what makes UCLA a good fit for somebody?
I think if you're someone that likes to participate in like extracurriculars outside of classes, then that's definitely a great fit. We saw there was like a field where they had music playing, a bunch of like stands for you to check out, and then inside right near the gym or the basketball court, they had plenty of like stands where you could go and learn about different programs and stuff like that. So if you're someone that's like interested in all that like extra stuff outside of classes that you like to participate in, I think it definitely makes a great fit.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like if you're someone who's really into sports, definitely UCLA could be a good fit. They had a lot of spirit towards their sports teams. And just if you want to be someone who would like to play on the sports team at UCLA, that could be a good option for you just because they're very sports oriented, it seemed to me.
When you came back, I'm sure a lot of people asked you questions. I do know there's certain people like, oh, I wish I was able to go on that trip. For those who cannot physically visit those places, what's the next best thing that you, like, what did you recommend to other people what to do?
I would say definitely check out, like, even on Score when it says, like, what the campus size is and stuff like that. I think that can definitely be very helpful to get, like, a kind of like an idea of how big that school is going to be. And then also just find, I guess, videos of students talking about their experience with the campus, see how much you want to like participate in extra stuff at the school, or if you're a very social person, if you like being around people, that can be definitely like a big factor in what school you choose.
Yeah.
And one more thing you can do is virtual tours. I know it's not as great as the in-person just because you're not able to really take in the full campus, but you are able to gain a pretty good sense of student life and also what the school has to offer. So I would say that's another option if you can't go in person on a tour.
All great information. So whether it be virtual tours, talking to other people who visited just like you guys have, using Score, college scorecard.ed.gov, Big Future also has information. We've shared even YouTube videos of people say pros and cons about a campus, get it from the actual students. The main thing is do your research, go out there, check a large, a medium, small school, check one that's a challenge, a possible likely for admission. Just go out there because what's our motto? Can't stop,
Won't stop.
Until next time.